Different's great, but being different for the sake of being different, I'm not a big fan of, right? If you just want to be different for the sake of
technology increased, I would hide behind it.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.
Welcome, everybody, to the Master Connector Show. I'm your co-host, Rob Genovesi, and we appreciate you joining us here every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on LinkedIn for this live, where we're going to bring you amazing, amazing guests. The idea here is to help you level up. My co-host and I, Steve Spiro, we go back 27 years or so, but the idea here is we want to bring you people who are going to share their stories, their skill sets, their experiences to help you level up. Because that's what Steve and I are all about. Steve and I have always sought to be high performers in everything we do, peak performance, and be people who connect. We're two former shy guys, two introverts, still introverted because, it's an energy thing. I need to recharge, man. After this, I got to recharge. But anyway, you can be a master connector. Being a master connector is about being able to properly connect with people. That's why we're not talking about networker. We're talking about connector. You've got to connect to attract. And so that's what we're looking to do here by bringing you people who are going to help you do that, to fill in those knowledge gaps that you may have in order to further your success. And look, I said we come at you every Wednesday. We hope you're joining us every week. But look, if you bookmark it, you won't miss it. But if you can't make it every week, we understand it. Everybody's busy pursuing their goals. But go to masterconnector.show. And you can see the lineup of who's coming up in future episodes. So maybe you go, oh, that one I don't want to miss. And you can bookmark your calendar so you don't miss us, masterconnector.show. And if you want to sponsor an episode, we have that opportunity as well. So you just go to masterconnector.show, hit sponsor episode, and you can fill out, you can follow that in order to be able to sponsor an episode to get your name out there. And so look, this is a live show, and if you're catching us live, we appreciate you being here. But look, this is an interactive experience. We want you to comment, we want you to like, we want you to share. We want to know where you're coming in from because we got people coming in from all around the world. And finally, if you got questions, look, if you don't have questions, it probably means that you're not really ready to digest a lot of the information at a deeper level. You're just kind of getting that, that surface information, which is good. You need that. But if you want to dig a little deeper, ask a question, put it in the comments. If you got a question for Steve or myself or our guest, put it in there. We got a great show for you today. Excited to get into it. And look, when we talk about connecting with people, now this was Steve's thing. He always said, I don't want to be the master networker. I want to be the master connector. And there's a big, big difference, which is why he's so good at it, which is why, even though we all want you to become master connectors, he is the master connector. Let's bring him on, Mr. Steve Spiro. What's up, Steve?
What's going on there, Robbie G? Yeah, I appreciate that. It's been a crazy journey. And you and I had the same mentor for a while, and he challenged me to meet 3 strangers every day. And that has led to crazy experiences and amazing network and really learning how to really connect. So I appreciate you big time. What's going on, friends? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. And we have a great show in store for you. And, we're going to talk about, diamonds. We're going to talk about diamonds in your database. And it reminds me, there's a story, I think it's Russell Conwell who wrote the story called Acres of Diamonds. And it's funny, I'll tell a quick story. You should read the book, but it's not a long book. And he talks about how this guy, he's like, he wants to be wealthy, and he basically goes traveling across the world to, I want to say Africa, whatever, looking for diamonds. And he winds up becoming completely broke. And he winds up coming back to home and to his house. And he's so broke, he has to sell his house. And the new owners, after the sale, they're looking out the window, admiring the beautiful place they just purchased at a very good price. And there's a little stream there, and in the stream they see little sparkling, and they go to the stream and they find that there's diamonds right there in the stream, and there was acres of diamonds all along. And we have connections, we have LinkedIn connections. I'm at 30,000, whatever. and we have amazing connections. And yeah, we're often looking for that next connection, the next contact, if you will. And you know what? Don't be afraid to dig where you already are, right? Dig where you, because you might have gold or diamonds under right where you are. So it's so important to reconnect. And I do that on a daily basis. In my case, I like to leverage some of the LinkedIn tools. And Beth, who's going to talk today, is an absolute expert on LinkedIn. So, but I use the catch up feature on LinkedIn, and hey, congrats on your birthday, congrats, happy birthday, congrats on your job change, and all these things. And it's a way to reconnect with people. And I often try to get back on a call, or if I've never connected with somebody, get on a call. It's so important that who you already connected with, to try to get on a call with them if you can. And it's led to amazing collaborations, amazing partnerships, amazing opportunities and friendships, and building real community. And to me, one of the 4 pillars of our show is growing connections and building community. And to me, by really connecting with your database, with your connections, with your contacts on a regular basis, there's so much more that you can accomplish than just trying to find that next one. And that's good too. Don't get me wrong. But, in my case, I'm at 30,000 connections. I can't go anymore. I can get more followers, but I can't get more connections. So I got to start to dig where I have. So anyway, before we bring her on, I want to just welcome Pael. I don't know if we've seen you on here before. So she's from Long Island. My guess is maybe part of Beth's network. So appreciate. Yep, she is. And we also have Kathy Gruss, who are a very recent connection for us, and it's been great getting to know you, Kathy, as well. So, but I'm excited. So if you're ready, community, type in the comments right now. Let's go. And I'm going to have my man, Rob G, introduce Beth.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Well, let's go, everybody. Beth Granger is a trainer, consultant, and speaker who works with business leaders and organizations so they can network into the right prospects, have more powerful conversations with their teams, and be known as thought leaders in their industry. Beth takes people from confused to confident when building their professional brand, growing their business, and having critical conversations on LinkedIn and in person. Her clients call her part friend, part consultant, and a LinkedIn oracle. Beth is also a frequent beta tester for new LinkedIn features. This is awesome. Please welcome to the show, Beth Granger. What's up, Beth?
Hey there. Great to be here.
Great to have you. Thanks for coming on.
It was a little slow on the trigger there. Yeah, sorry about that. But anyway. Oh, man, it's so good to have you on here, Beth. This has been a long time coming. I think we booked this out quite a few months ago, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The juice, I know, will be worth the squeeze. It's worth the wait for sure. No doubt. But excited to have you. So, hey, let's dig right into this, right? We were talking, I was in my, intro kind of talking a little bit about, that we have hidden gems in our right there in our database, right? So let's talk about, I love your perspective, Beth. How can people start recognizing the untapped potential already sitting in their own database?
Yeah. I mean, most people think they have to keep meeting more and more people. And while that's great, we have all these people we've collected over the years in our LinkedIn database and other databases. And how well do we really know them? Did we meet them at an event and never have a follow-up conversation? So there are 2 ways, at least on LinkedIn, that you can begin to figure out, who do I want to reach out to? One is to download your connections spreadsheet. A lot of people don't know you can do this. It's a CSV file that has a list of every single connection, including the date you connected. So if you do download it, I challenge you to look at the very first connection that you had and see if you still know them, and reach out to them. Let them know they were your first connection.
Wow. That is awesome. I just learned something, because, and Rob, I know you probably want to ask a question, which I'll let you do, but I just got to say this right now. One of the things, as you get to 30,000, you got to figure out, okay, is who, maybe I need to filter out a little bit. And there's no easy way in LinkedIn to figure out, like, people that you connected a while ago that have you maybe messaged them 16 times and they haven't answered at one time, but it means probably it's time to, like, filter them out. But that's a great tool. So this is awesome. So anyway, Rob, I know you probably want to say something.
Yeah, when we talk about the first people we connected with, I mean, I was my daughter just graduated from college, and they're teaching them to go on LinkedIn, thank God, because it's such a valuable tool. But she was looking at my profile and she's like, wow, or wherever it says your account started in, and it was like 2008. And I'm like, really? I didn't remember that because I wasn't really using LinkedIn. I didn't understand it. I just did what they told me to do, which is get my account, and I didn't use it. So a lot of those early contacts are from my corporate days. I spent 25 years in corporate. I've been on my own, my own business for about 7 years now, full time. And some of those early connections, I don't want to reach out to them, but is it good to like disconnect from them, or does it make sense, or does it even matter?
So if you're not at your limit of connections, the way Steve is, there's no reason to disconnect from somebody unless they have some kind of bad behavior. If somebody's tormenting you or doing the connect and pitch or something like that, because you not only could they be a referral partner, a collaborator, you just don't know what could happen in the future. But if you're at your limit, which probably many people who are with us today are not there, you may want to make it a smaller network. And yes, you can disconnect from somebody. They don't get a notification. The only way that they know is if they go to your profile, suddenly it'll say second connection instead of first.
Yeah, it's like kind of like I'm kind of a more of a relationship emotional person. And I always felt like, if I disconnect, I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Yeah, I think what I'm doing now is if I am unconnecting with somebody, I'm making sure I follow them as well. So at least they got that follow. So that I don't think you're. And listen, ultimately, Rob, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, I don't know, but like if they haven't answered you one, and you've probably done like 16 different messages, it's probably time. I don't think you're hurting their feelings. I don't think they even know that you even exist, right? Because they haven't answered your 16 messages, And don't get me wrong, community. I don't want to make you. I'm not stalking people, but I do hit the happy anniversary, happy job change, and 16 years later, which is probably as long I've been on LinkedIn. If I've done that every year and they haven't answered, it's probably a sign, But speaking of reconnect, I want to kind of dig into this one a little bit, Beth, right? Because I was mentioning it on, how I reconnect, but it's not. This show is not about what Steve Spiro does. I want to know what Beth does. So what are a few non-awkward ways? So community, type in hashtag reconnect. Thank you, Rob. But what are a few non-awkward ways to reignite a conversation with someone you haven't spoken to in years? We're kind of touching on that, right?
Yeah. So my favorite way, and the way I actually did a talk about this last week at a trade show here on Long Island. And sometimes I'll put different examples, and people always like this one the best. And so that makes me think if they would respond to this, use it.
Yeah.
And you start with a mutually agreeable fact. So it's been 10 years since we connected, but we haven't spoken in a long time. It's just a fact. Nobody's going to argue with a fact.
Yeah.
And then, are you open-minded to reconnecting or a short networking conversation or whatever it is that you're hoping to do? And the reason that works is if I say to everybody here with us today, are you open-minded? Everybody likes to think they are. So it's not salesy. It's just reconnecting, starting with the fact and then asking a really easy to answer question. Key thing being, if what you're asking for is a networking conversation, you cannot turn it into a sales pitch. You have to, no bait and switch, please.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, I just got to take the time real quick. So I want to acknowledge Nancy Stingone. I know Rob knows Nancy. Great to have Nancy on the show. And of course, the amazing Yolanda. Amazing to have you on every time. Good new friend, Andrew, on with us here. Let's go. Appreciate you. And by the way, I'm not sure if I'm saying her name. Payal is saying,
Payal.
Hey, Beth. She said, just acknowledging you.
Hi, Payal.
I guess I'm saying it pretty decently. She said her first husband was her first.
That was a good move.
That was pretty funny.
Not her first husband.
Knows
Her
him.
husband was.
Smart, right? She calls on occasion, but one thing she wants to start by first thing reaching out before go to remove. I like that. That's good. That's good thought, by the way. And then we also have Jeff on here. So Please explain how I can download my connections. Also, if there's a way you can sort those. Okay. Yeah. If we, maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. And I'm just making sure. D, I'm not sure who that is. She's coming in through YouTube. I know we simulcast through YouTube, but great to have you on here, D, as well. And looks like Pael and Jeff are connecting. If you, by the way, if you're having, get in the comments and connect with each other. This is the Master Connector Show. But anyway, let's go back to that question. If you could answer that, help answer, that'd be great.
Absolutely. So you're going to do it on the desktop version, not on your phone. And you're going to go to settings and privacy, then data privacy, then get a copy of your data, or I forget the exact wording. Of course, it's like, I know where to click, but the exact wording I forget. And it used to be a checkbox where you could download just your connections, but just within the past few months, they changed it. You have to download your full archive of data from LinkedIn. It'll take a day or two, and you'll be notified. You'll come back, and that request button will turn into a download button. So you'll get not only your connections, you'll get the wording from your profile, your recommendations, all sorts of other stuff, but that's useful too. But that's where that.
I have a question for you, Beth, because I know there's some stuff in that download that you don't even see on LinkedIn. Like, what can they expect if they've never downloaded before? Is there some other, hidden gems in there inside the information?
Well, my favorite's actually the recommendations, because you can use that wording really easily then in social media graphics on your website. It's just an easy way rather than retyping it. That's one of my favorites. There's all sorts of things, and honestly, I haven't looked. I'd have to look in the thing. I mostly look at the connections and the recommendations. I'm not sure if it's still there. There used to be all your posts, so shares. It was called shares. I don't know if that's still there.
Wow.
Yeah, there's all sorts of good stuff, and just dig around and click and see what's useful.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. Awesome stuff. Well, a big part of what we were talking about in the beginning and the opening here was on curiosity. And what I find is, one of the pillars of our show, and one of the 4 pillars that I speak about as a speaker, is being authentic and being others focused. And I think curiosity embodies that. So I want to talk about curiosity, have you speak on that. So community, type in hashtag curiosity. So how can curiosity be used as the fuel to make reconnection conversations feel authentic and engaging?
Yeah. Well, so in the exactly what to say world, I'm something called an exactly what to say certified guide. And one of the things we like to say is that curiosity is the fuel for conversation. And if you start or reconnect with somebody and start a conversation, and you are honestly curious to learn about them, that's going to develop a relationship, which will develop trust. So that's what we all want.
I love that. Yeah, it's great. Well, and by the way, I just want to acknowledge there's a lot of banter going on in the chat, which I'm really, really happy about. So keep it going, community. Way to go.
And the answer is yes, Nancy.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. We do have one person that unfortunately is showing up as a LinkedIn user. I think that they got to do something. Do you know, Beth, what they need to do? Tell us, please.
So when you're on LinkedIn, the settings that you can choose for how other people see you when you visit their profile, it can be completely public, which I recommend most of the time. And that's where we would then see the name. There's private, which is what this person has. So when they visit someone's profile, that person can't tell that they've been there. So that's why we're seeing LinkedIn user. And then there's that weird in-between one that will say someone at IBM or whatever. It's something in between the two.
Okay. Is there any good valid reason why they wouldn't be private? I mean, what's your thoughts there? Why they would be private? Is there any good reason? Yeah.
So what I recommend is be public most of the time, because that's how conversations start, right? You comment on something, somebody, just like what's happening in the chat here.
Yeah.
The only time to be private is if you're doing some kind of competitive analysis, or there's some reason that I can't think of at the moment, but where you wouldn't want someone to know that you've visited their profile. But then after you've done that research, switch it back, because being public, that's what it's all about. We want to have those conversations.
Yep.
I mean, there's a point that I want to bring out. I think a lot of people who don't understand LinkedIn view it as social media. And I think that because when I was in corporate, I didn't really network. I didn't need to. When I went full-time business, I knew I needed to. And I think my ignorance worked in my favor because I just started being a person to people. While others were pitching, I would just say, hey, man, just tell me about your journey. Like I was just curious about them, right? Hashtag curiosity. I was just curious about them. And when I went to LinkedIn, I carried that over. And I don't see LinkedIn as social media, audience. I see LinkedIn as networking, plain and simple. And if you could just be a person on LinkedIn, and instead of going, how can I make this sale? Because you would never buy from somebody when they pitch you first time. So don't do that to other people. Get to know them. And just, if you want to connect with them, I love what Beth said earlier about how to do that. It's like, hey, I know we haven't chatted in 6 months. So just wanted to, whatever, right? State the obvious, be a person and connect with people and stop trying to sell.
No
Anyway.
doubt.
100%.
Yeah. It's all about building relationships, right? And I think through relationships, right? It's funny because people, we talk about pitch slapping, and there's a great book, Ditch the Pitch, and people want to pitch, but it's so contrary to the concept of people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So you got to build a relationship first. So community, let's talk about that. Type in hashtag relationship ROI, return on investment. So here's the question for you, Beth, right? Why is reconnecting sometimes more powerful than meeting someone brand new?
Ooh. Well, in my opinion, it's more powerful because you already connected for some reason at some point. Maybe you met them, maybe you had a substantial social media conversation. Whatever the reason is you connected, you already have the beginnings of a conversation, and they're going to know it's not going to be a connect and pitch because you already connected, whatever that reason was.
Right.
And so it's kind of like a warm introduction to yourself in a way, but so much better than trying to reach out cold.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to say, it just springs a thought for me, and that, when I do meet people out and about, because I am still meeting 3 strangers every day. I mean, I may not always hit 3, but I love directing them right to LinkedIn and hopefully connecting with them right away, because I feel like there's credibility for that human aspect that Rob was talking about. You're a human, right? Yeah, you could direct them to a website, but now they feel like, okay, I'm about to be pitched or sold. But get them to LinkedIn, and if you've done follow what Beth teaches and do a really good job of creating a great profile where you show your humanity, right? Not show that you're a business per se, right? Was it Jay-Z? I'm not. What has to say?
He said, I'm not a bubusinessman. I'm a businessman.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. You knew where I was going with that. I appreciate that. Yes. Right. So you're a businessman or business person, right? But you're not a business, right? And yeah, it's the whole idea, right? And so, but let's chat a little bit. I want to take this further. I want to talk about opportunity, because yes, ultimately we want to create relationships, but we want to hopefully create some opportunity. So community, type in hashtag opportunity, and can you share an example of a time when reconnecting led to breakthrough opportunity?
Yes. So I don't know how many of you look at who viewed your profile. This is wonderful, and we're all curious, so we look at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But here's a little, don't tell anybody, a secret tip. People are looking at your profile for a reason. You don't know what that reason is necessarily. So if a first connection, so someone in your network looks at your profile and you haven't spoken to them recently, reach out. And what I like to say is simply, hey, whoever, how are you? Or notice you stopped by my profile, notice you visited my profile, how are you? And what that does is it allows you to reconnect. It allows them to tell you why, if they want to. So I don't ask. And the first time this happened, it was somebody I hadn't talked to in a while. They immediately picked up the phone, called me and said, oh, Susan, a common connection, said you're the person to talk to about some LinkedIn training. And that led to a client. What if Susan had given him 3 names? She didn't, but what if she had? So it sped up the time to that interaction. And even if he was just looking how to spell my name or no reason that was important, it allows us to reconnect.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the cool thing about LinkedIn, unlike some of the other socials. You could see who's stalking you. Now, I'm not saying people are stalking you, but you could see it, right? And I think that's great. And I maybe I learned it from you somehow indirectly, Beth. I don't know, but I do that as well. I love that. I do want to. Jeff has something we want to kind of, he it looks like he wants to talk about. So I've connected with lots of people on LinkedIn. Too often, however, I found that when I write back to them to ask about their work, they don't write back. Is it because I'm sharing with them about what I do in my message to them? Interesting. Go ahead. Yeah, Beth, I love your perspective.
Yes, I would assume by starting with, instead of starting with curiosity, you're starting with also what you do. And that could feel a little like, uh-oh, they're going to pitch me. So you need to take a longer time, just like getting to know somebody in person. They can see what you do if they go to your profile. So that could definitely be it.
And can I pluck something out of there, what you said, Beth? Because people may have missed it. And because we keep talking about the human part of this networking tool called LinkedIn, when you said, uh-oh, they might be pitching me, understand, they may not have pitched you. You may not have pitched them, Jeff. But if they get the feeling that you're about to, because I do that, I'm like, I feel a pitch may be coming.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Right. Yeah. Because why? They have not earned my time and my attention enough to make me go, okay, I'm willing to talk about this. But if it's just a human reaching out going, hey, what's up, man? I saw you something in your profile, made me curious. That's a different conversation, but they're asking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I think ultimately, if they could look on your profile, if they want to know what you do, you don't need to tell them what you do. It's on the profile. But Jeff also wrote this. Yeah, I'm having a feeling that they might not be using LinkedIn the same way you are, or they may not respond if there's no ask. Thoughts there, Beth?
So, people don't respond for many reasons. We don't know, right? It's for their reasons. We don't know what those are. Somebody might not be active on LinkedIn. If you go to their page and they don't have a photo and they hardly have any information, they might not have even seen your message.
Yeah.
Again, sometimes it's because they're fearful or they've had bad experiences with people reaching out.
Yeah.
For instance, if I get a connection request or a message from somebody and their headline starts with, I helped LinkedIn trainers, speakers, and coaches 10x their business in 2 days. Am I going to want to have a conversation with that person? No, that feels immediately like I'm going to get a pitch.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Listen, here's my thoughts, and we need to wrap up here. But my thoughts are this, if you do the right thing, you're going to 90%, 95% of the time, you're going to get a good positive response. You're going to have the exceptions, but by doing the same right thing consistently, you'll notice that it's not you, it's not your message, it's the person, right? Maybe they had a bad day, or maybe they had one bad experience and they're trying to put you in that box. Don't build what you do based on the exception, based on the rule, if you will. So, but great. This has been phenomenal. We could go on for another 2 hours. I mean, this is maybe, so I know we want to talk real briefly. I know you have something you want to offer the community. Could you maybe share a little bit about that? And maybe also after that, best way for the community to reach you?
Absolutely. So I have a worksheet that has the basis for this reconnecting script that we shared, including some other options that you can try. And because I didn't make a URL that worked, find me on LinkedIn. My messages are open. Did you know you can do that? So anybody can send me a message and just say, Master Connector Show, can I have the PDF?
I don't know if I knew that the messages can be open. I am going to go and look into that. I appreciate that, Beth. But
especially for you,
yeah. What was that?
Especially because you can't have any more actual connections. That would be a great thing to do.
I am going to look into that.
You'll get the sales pitches, but I just ignore those. So
yeah, it's fine. Still get it no matter what. But anyway, best way for everyone to reach you is through LinkedIn, or any other ways you want them to reach you?
LinkedIn. I do have a website. I don't really use it. BethGranger.com.
Anyway, I appreciate you. We're going to have you go in the green room, but thank you so much. This is phenomenal. Really,
This was
really
great.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Awesome stuff. That is amazing. Well, listen, if you like that, you're going to like the next one. I feel like a car salesman here. I don't know. Episode 215, Wednesday, 6/11, a week from today. Same bat time, same bat channel. Leading with Your Heart with Jennifer Reckler. It's going to be a great show. And if you're interested in learning more about not just next week's show, but then the ones coming up, or go to masterconnector.show. And or if you'd like to also be a sponsor of one of our shows, one of our episodes, go to masterconnector.show as well. We also stream on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and we're also simulcasting as well on YouTube. You can also see it there if you want to, if there's some things that you want to kind of re-listen to, because that was a boatload of great information. Make sure to go there as well. And if you're on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the channel, Master Connector channel. But anyway, I want to close with some thoughts here. Before becoming one of Hollywood's top producers, Brian Gazer was just a mailroom clerk at Warner Brothers. Driven by curiosity and faith that the right relationships could open doors, he leveraged every hallway conversation and reconnected with overlooked contacts, eventually partnering with Ron Howard, an old acquaintance, which led to the launch of Imagine Entertainment. Grazer's success wasn't about meeting new people. It was about recognizing the diamonds already in his database and daring to mine them. Folks, let's continue to build our network, grow our connections, knowing that as we do, we will lead to the right opportunities, which will add to our success and eventually will give us the platform to shine our light. God bless. See you next week.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.